degrees. So notice this 140 degree angle and this 40 degree angle, if we add those together, we get 180 degrees. That makes them supplementary. They don't have to be separate like that. They can be, let me get a line tool real fast here. Okay, they can be a pair of angles that is connected to make a straight line. Okay, so notice there we have two angles. They make a straight line, so I know together they're 180. I can go ahead and give them measures. So let's say that's 160 and that's 20. That pair is also supplementary. So supplementary angles can be attached to one another or not, but as long as they add up to be 180. And it is a pair, so it can't be three angles. It has to just be two angles that do that. And I noticed in the discussion board for this section, a lot of you had some great ideas about how to remember complementary and supplementary. Complementary are two angles that add up to be 90 degrees. So notice this 55 degree angle and this 35 degree angle. Since 55 plus 35 is 90, those are complementary angles. Okay? Same situation, we could have two that are actually completely attached to one another to make a right angle, and they would be considered complementary also. Okay, so let's say we have a right angle and we have two angles inside of that. Okay, so this angle here and this angle here are complementary. We're pretty good on complementary and supplementary. Does anybody have any questions about those at all? No. Okay. All right, as we go down here, they have some more specific types of angles. Adjacent just means two angles that are touching one another. They say they have a common vertex and a common side. So here, notice this top angle and this bottom angle. They share a vertex and they share this side. So I like to think of adjacent as two angles that are touching one another. They're right up against one another. Okay, and notice those two angles, again, share this side right here. Splits it into two angles. Okay, a linear pair is like the picture that I drew up above. A linear pair involves two angles that form a straight line. Their technical definition is a pair of adjacent angles whose non-common sides are opposite rays. And what that means is they're two angles that are touching. They share this ray. Okay. Their non-common side would be this side and this side. And notice those two are opposite rays, which means they start at the same point but go in exactly the opposite direction. I like to call a linear pair a pair of angles that makes a line. That's why they're called a linear pair, because they form a straight line. And if you look across the bottom here, that's exactly what we do have. Okay. Our final pair down here are vertical angles, and it looks like when I put my presentation up here, it overlapped them. They are non-adjacent angles formed by intersecting lines, or, like I like to say, they're angles across the intersection from one another when two lines cross. So if you have two lines that cross one another, vertical angles are the two angles across from one another in the intersection. So this angle here and this angle here are vertical. That's a pair of vertical angles. Also, the one above and below, that's a pair of vertical angles. So let me shade them. One of them green, this angle, and I'll do the other one blue. And this angle, those are a vertical pair. Yeah, it's when it makes an X, exactly. And each pair across from each other are vertical. The important fact about vertical angles is that they are always congruent. So when you have two lines crossing, the angles across the intersection from each other are the same size. Okay, so that's the basics. This is the definitions of supplementary, complementary, adjacent, linear pair, and vertical angles, which are all of our angle pairs that they wanted to focus on. Now we're going to go through some questions. Okay, so here's our first set of questions. We'll start with this picture here. Identify what type of angle pair is shown in the figure. So this figure up in the upper left-hand corner with the angle 1 and angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2 are what type of angle pair from our list of angles? Good. Good. They are across the intersection from one another, so that is exactly right. So this would be a pair of vertical angles. Very good. Okay, let's take a look next at the next one. So this pair of angles here, what type of angles would those be considered? And there's actually more than one answer that applies to these. They are complementary, yes. They form a right angle, so you know that together they are 90 degrees. So yes, complementary, which I have a habit of misspelling. And yes, they are also adjacent because they are touching one another. So perfect, well done. Those are complementary angles, also adjacent angles. Very good. Okay, what about this pair? What types of angles are they? Yeah, clappy hands. We've got angle 1 and angle 2. They are a linear pair. Very good. They do together, they form a straight line. Yes. They are a linear pair. Anything else? They are also, yes, supplementary because a straight line is 180 degrees. Together they're 180. That makes them supplementary. So they are a linear pair. They're supplementary, and they are one more thing. What else are they? What's that one more thing that they are? Any ideas? Adjacent. Yes, they are. They are touching one another. They share, or if we use the technical definition, they share a common vertex and a common side. They share this vertex in the middle. Oops. They share that vertex and this side. So yes. So they're all three things. They are a linear pair, they are supplementary, and they are adjacent. Hey, what about this pair down here? What are they? What type of angle pair? They are adjacent, yes. Are they anything besides adjacent? Or are they just adjacent? Okay, they are only adjacent. They don't have any other characteristics. Finally, let's come over here. What type of angle pair do I have here? Very good, supplementary. Okay, are these adjacent also, or are they just supplementary this time? They are just supplementary. Notice they don't touch. They don't share a side. Good. They do add to 180, which makes them supplementary. They're also not a linear pair. Okay? To be a linear pair, they have to be touching and form a straight line. Okay? So that's just kind of a review of our angle pairs and identifying them. And